Hey, what is up, Rich Army? It's Rich, the leader of the Rich Army. No, just kidding. There's no army. There could be, though. We could start it. All right, Batman Black and White. We're going to look at Simon Bisley's today. It's been peeking out at me as I've been flipping through this volume 1 of the Batman Black and White stuff. And as we always do, we're going to look at Simon Bisley. We're going to look at one of the pinup / cover images after we go through the story. And we're going to read his bio to kick it off. If you haven't hit the like button on these videos, please do. And I'm creating a playlist today. So if you enjoy the Batman Black and White series, there'll be a playlist link. And you can watch, I think I have 5 up now. They're as a little group of videos, they're actually quite enjoyable, and it's been fun seeing each story and how different they are as different artists and writers tackle them. And this is Neil Gaiman and Bisley, so strong team. And let me know if you have a favorite story so far of the ones that we've done. So anyway, Simon Bisley, he exploded onto the comic scene with his work in Slain, and Slain is badass. There's 6 issues of it, and 4 of them are incredible, and 2 of them are good, but not as good as the other 4, but it's all good. His major American comics debut was on Lobo, I don't even know how to say that word. I'm not going to embarrass myself. You break it down phonetically in the comments section. I'm not going to even try it. The first Lobo miniseries, where his frantic pyrotechnic style completely bowled over fans. He followed that with the fully painted Batman Judge Dredd, Judgment on Gotham crossover, as well as other Lobo projects, before basically dropping out of sight. He resurfaces occasionally to do some projects or other. This is one of those. He's done Melting Pot. He did a Jesus book. He did, like, what was it, Lobo versus Santa Claus. Did they mention Lobo's back? Lobo's back. I mean, Bisley's out there. He's done a lot. His Batman books that he's done are amazing. He's highly, highly influential, at least for a certain era of artists. So anyway, this story is called A Black and White World. And that is a really, really kick-ass shot of Simon Bisley. Bisley was built like a freaking tank back in the day. Bisley was kind of a superhero in a weird way. It's like he looked like a pretty badass, biker. So, all right, beautiful, beautiful opening splash page. Even though Batman's back is to us, it's really, really powerful. It's got a lot of energy. Let's see, what do we got? He's got bats and all this stuff. All right, let's move into the story. So this is an interesting and very, very different story compared to all the rest. So anyway, you see Batman walking into an office. So I don't know if this is just symbolic of sort of like a Batman-esque thing, but anyway, it immediately cuts to him walking into an office. There's a secretary, and they greet each other, and she hands him the call sheets. And apparently they're on the scene of a movie. And then this is one of the assistants. She basically tells him to go wait in the green room. Commissioner Gordon is running a little bit late, and he's shooting his scenes. And Batman wants reading material, and he asks for Newsweek. But only Time was available. I'm assuming that's like a Warner Brothers thing. I didn't fully get the joke, but Newsweek maybe is published by a different publisher, and company policy, they only have Time on set. Anyway, so then Batman enters the green room, and it's like almost has kitchen windows for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why that is. And then the bats are just kind of floating around him, which again is just sort of a stylistic thing. That looks cool. This is a great shot of Batman. Bisley always does very, very cool anatomy. Stuff is very stylish, and it's just cool. So anyway, Batman plops down, and he's like looking through Time magazine. I think that's what it says. Yeah. And someone speaking from off camera, who it ends up being the Joker, but the Joker asks Batman, how long is the wait going to be? And or do you know how long the wait's going to be? Do they say? Batman says no, and he goes, that figures. And then they start sort of talking about the frustrations of being actors in these plays, i.e. comics. It's funny. The Joker does, he's doing a crossword puzzle, and I thought it was an interesting whatever clue. Hey, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan wasn't allowed into this White House. 10 letters, ends with an A. Casablanca. I'm assuming Ronald Reagan was in Casablanca, the movie. I didn't know that. Anyway, and Joker asks Batman, like, when are we going to be called to the scene? And Batman says, we don't know. And then the Joker starts saying that, like, his mom always was like, why are you going to get into acting? And, like, you're going to be a comic book character and do this. And then he talks about, like, it's like, it's an unsecured job. And there's a lot of allusions to, I think, just working in comics in general in this story. And then what's the worst part? And he says, waiting around. And I mean, Joker, he's like dressed up like a sort of like a Nazi. It's pretty funny. He's got like a like jacket and stuff. So anyway, they're kind of waiting, and Joker asks Batman, hey, do you want to do a quick run through of our scene? And so they kind of go back and forth with some dialogue, and Joker's talking about how it's not very funny and not very good. And there's a joke about, like, Roseanne. He says Roseanne has better comedy than we do. And Batman jokes and says, well, their writers are paid more. Again, I think these are references to just working in comics in general. It's pretty funny. Neil Gaiman is a really good writer. He's a great writer. Anyway, so Joker goes on to say, hey, I kill, like you shouldn't be able, like, how did you get out? Like, you should be buried under, I don't know, thousands of tons of concrete. And Batman says, oh, today was Memorial Day, and they didn't work today. The foundation was going in tomorrow, so I wasn't buried by the rubble, and that's how I'm out and addressing you. Looks like the joke's on you. And then they are saying, oh, that's simple enough. It should be. We've done these scenes 1,000 times together. Again, a reference to comics, which I do think is problematic with any comic book character in general, is that a lot of it starts to get redundant if you followed it for a while. It is one of those things. So this is a funny, analysis and sort of analogy for all that. So who's complaining? I'm not complaining. It's steady work. Look, look at Mr. Freeze. He'd kill for an occasional oof. This guy's on welfare with his family on food stamps, and he's like, tell me about it. We had him up to the house last week, and then he's asking, how are the kids? Great. Just great. How are yours? And then, so anyway, they're ready to shoot the scene. The lady comes in, and so then they do the scene, and Joker's talking about that he's going to do a series of comedy clubs across the United States, and except France. And then there's a joke about Jerry Lewis, Jerry Lewis, and it's like, you have to let it go. And then this is actually pretty good. So, when they start to go over the dialogue of what they had rehearsed, it starts here. So there's a big splash of Batman coming into the scene, and the Joker reacting to it. It's nice. Big, powerful shot. Takes up a lot of real estate. And the cape looks cool. Ears, he's got the knocked out eyes. And then he's like, not so fast, Joker. He's like, Batman, but I killed you. You're buried under tons of concrete. And 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 there was a joke about the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, which was a let me see who that. Oh, Mark Twain reference. And Batman then says, you forgot one simple thing, Joker. Today is Memorial Day. Those foundations won't be laid until tomorrow. So it looks like the joke's on you. Cut. And then we find out that Lobo is actually directing the scene. And then there's some little fun drawings that he did actually in the gutters that I was going to point out. There was a penguin on the one, but on this one, he drew like little things. It's, fun little extras, but it's kind of cute. It's sort of a reference to the Lobo thing. All right, let me. Sorry, the page is hard to turn. And this is kind of cool. So we'll be breaking for lunch. It'll be a wrap, and the scene, Commissioner Gordon's office, is what we're going to come back and do. And then they talk about they're going to head to the commissary to get some food, and they're like, yeah, but one of the problems is. Because we work on the set longer, all the sort of lower down, they refer to them as locusts. They get all the good food, and we're just left with the garbage, whatever's left over that they do. So that's why they get the smoked salmon and we get the tuna. I tell you, it sucks. Hey, that splash panel where you came through the window, that was just the coolest. I never get panels like that. And this Joker saying to Batman, and he's like, so you get to make speeches. Yeah, and well, I don't get to make speeches. Well, you're the strong silent type. I'm the crazed speech making type. And, well, what the hell? At least we're both working. So ultimately, it just ends up is they're just blue collar actors in these things, and they're doing it for a paycheck, but they're happy to be doing it for a paycheck, and not so much the glamour. So it's an interesting little story, and like I said, it kind of is sort of a reference to, I think, the comic book industry in general. And this was written 15 years ago, so the more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, you could comics has been dead for 30 years, and it always comes back. It's probably been dead longer. It's a very resilient medium. There's just tons of fans that love this stuff, and they're always cycle in and out. There's just different ways to consume it now, and there's different options for publishing, but it's no different than it was in the 90s. It's no different than it was. There's always small publishers, however you want to look at it, that pop up. And anyway, and then we're going to look at it's a Frank Miller cover. I thought it was interesting seeing it in black and white. I mean, I'd seen the piece before, but I'll explain why I like it better in the book. So the way that I've always seen this is on the cover of the comic book, and it's usually got the logo at the top, and then also I think there's a rusty red color maybe in the logo, and I really didn't like the way that the logo looked on this piece. This piece is really badass, but it's I've seen it so many times as the cover of the book that I kind of didn't like it personally, but I like this. Like if I got used to seeing this version of it more, I think it's a fantastic piece. So it's interesting seeing it with sort of fresh eyes and stuff. This is just really, really great. Miller is such a badass. But yeah, it's really cool. So anyway, all right. I hope that was enjoyable. There was a lot of kind of back and forth with that story, and yeah, ultimately it's very different than all the other ones that we've done, and I'm actually going to kind of look it over again after I shoot the video and kind of watch it, and I'm sure I'll soak in even more fine detail. Definitely well worth not watching, but trying to read this book. So again, this is the cover of this one, if you ever can find it used or something. And there was single comics. This was 4 issues of stuff. So anyway, all right, have a great day. I'll talk to you all later. And tomorrow I'm going to do Zaffino. So we're going to hit Zaffino, who's also in this book. This first volume was really, really stacked with great stuff. So yeah, tomorrow we're going to do Zaffino. All right, later. Bye.